Hi, I'm Derek. This is the ForeGolf Custom PXG 0311P Gen2 head review. And we've been fitting with this for a while, so we've got some good insights into not only who the club is for, but who it's not for. We've taken the Pepsi challenge with this as well, so I'm going to fire up TrackMan, we're going to hit some balls and show you the speeds before the tech and obviously the speeds from the tech. So you're going to want to see this. In terms of technology, right, let's talk it through. It's got an 8620 steel head. It's a very soft steel, which gives a really good feedback and gives good solid feel off the shot when you do hit it. But the face itself is a very different steel. It's a HT1770. And what that means is when you put a face insert into a very soft head, you got to back it up with some polymer, and that's where the COR2 or the Core 2 polymer insert comes in. They basically sandwich the front and the back of the head with this polymer, which allows this face to flex into it, creates these incredible ball speeds. Then you do the old peripheral weighting. They've taken screw holes, they've actually bored out the holes and inserted 9 titanium screws. This pushes the weight right to the outside of the head and creates an unbelievable sort of high MOI and stable club head. What it also does is, though, it allows this polymer insert to work right across the whole face, so your off-center hits are just as good as ones out of the button. There are 4 heads in the Gen 2 series. There's the P head that we tested, the player head. There's the T, which stands for tour head. There's the XF, or the extra forgiveness iron. And then there's the SGI, the Super Game Improvement Club. I think now we'll get TrackMan 4 fired up and we'll check the data much more closely with Dave. So it's fair to say PXG has had a fairly heavy hammering out there. Because obviously when it's come into the marketplace, everyone's gone, who are these guys and where do they exist and how do they? And then the pricing obviously was a big issue. I think one of the reasons we bought into PXG from a fitting perspective was because it brought, I think it brought groundbreaking technology.
Yeah, that's certainly, yeah.
It also brought together a very unique way of designing and building the product, in that there was a no holds barred scenario from PXG. So their owner, Bob Parsons, said, look, whatever it costs, whatever it takes, design me the best golf clubs that I've ever seen. And that's what came out. And it was technology that we hadn't seen before. We saw faces that flexed, we saw inserts, and we saw unique blends of material. So I think in order to form a really valid opinion about this, you have to test it, you have to try it, and also you have to go through the PXG scenario of being fitted, because they won't allow product to be bought without being fitted first. So I think it's anti-get wrong, you can't get it wrong. And then
it's protected.
It is protected, but ultimately it ends up suiting the people for all the right reasons, rather than just saying, oh, I'll buy a set of irons and see how I get on. It definitely works differently from that.
It also takes away from these are expensive, they must be better.
Well, yeah, because like with everything we fit for, it only works under the right application and the right player and the right scenario. So it will work, but only when it's applied to the right scenario. Given that you're looking for the right scenario, where do you find the key element? What's the main thing you look for in these?
So I think as a general rule over everything else that we have to offer, you tend to see this 4 to 5 mile an hour ball speed gain, which is the determinant factor of how far the golf ball can actually go.
And I think the way we'll do that is, why don't we throw some shots up on TrackMan with a normal as you can, steel forged head, hit a few shots with that. And then show you the numbers on that, and then I think what we'll do, we'll throw up then the numbers from the PXG Gen2 P head, and then do a comparison of speed across the two. I think that's the easiest way for us to do that. So the best way I think to talk about this product, the PXG, is to show a normal head, well, normal as it can be, just a forged head with no insert, no polymer.
Perfect, yeah.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
And I guess this is how you would normally test this.
Whether that technology is something which is applicable for the client.
Yeah.
It's 108 ball speed off that. And then jumps up to 115 when you go to the PXG.
Yeah. You can definitely feel the difference in the face, because you can actually feel it rebounding, if that's the right word, but you can certainly feel the difference, there's no doubt.
116 there, and switch back just to see the change.
This is back to the normal head again. And again, I've crisped that.
It's that 5-6 miles an hour drop off
in terms of speed.
Or increase that comes from the PXG.
And that's the face obviously moving and where the technology and how the product works.
Yeah, 111.6 versus 116, 5 miles an hour.
5 miles an hour. As a good average, that's pretty much what you'd see.
Which is what you see from a fittings perspective, yeah. It's a speed product. Now, with the insert being fitted all the way through the entire width of the head, it also gives you this, effectively the whole face of the sweet spot.
So
you
speed's
can,
retained across
speed
the
is
face.
retained across the face. So as much as it is an extremely good distance product, it's also an extremely good control distance product, because that off-center hit has been dealt with by the insert, and the distance control is there as well.
And I think that governed them with this, high MOI story where the weighting's pulled to the outside. I think then you've got a great, consistent, but, ever so well forgiving product line. Talk me through the 4 heads.
So, 4 heads, I guess basically to go up against anything that the industry has to offer from an irons perspective. So you go all the way from the T, which is their small, neat, kind of top line, thin players product. Now they do a P, which is the four players, which is the next one down. Then they go to the XF, which is like a
extreme forgiveness, they call it.
Extreme forgiveness.
Yeah.
And the SGI, which is
super game improvement.
Off the planet again.
But I guess the technology stays right through the product line, which is very unusual in the industry. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, insert all the way through every product, through every head. You don't have this kind of drop off where there is enough space to fit it in.
So you deployed a different head then to the different scenario based on the flight that you're looking for.
I wouldn't necessarily try and stereotype a head size, the T with being a good player's product, because you can use it more to control height first and foremost, because there are some, certainly in the bigger heads, there's some big high apexes for that from a height perspective.
And I've seen you splitting the sets as well, where you've been using some T heads for the lower irons to P heads, because the consistency is in the speed.
Yeah.
You can alter between the heads to get that.
Jiggle the lofts a little bit just to get the flight
which
right.
again is the ultimate in fitting, but again that's what the product is all
about.
So tell me, before we work out, or if you give us an overview of who it's for, who's it not for? Who should not really be thinking about this stuff?
I guess there's 2 major areas of people. So your real traditionalist wants an old-fashioned blade, micro cavity, because as much as they've tried to thin the top line down, it's still relatively thick.
Well, you have to have it because you've got to put the 2 parts together.
You can still almost see the back to it.
So if you want something that's small and neat,
pure
blade shape, it's going to be hard.
You want to understand that you've mishit it because you've hit it and then you've hit a really bad shot as a direct result of it.
It's also a good point to note that these aren't blades, folks, because basically it's a huge cavity inside the head. So if you imagine you take off the back, you'll see a full-size cavity inside. So even though they look a bit bladey, they're not anywhere close. So who else should be looking at this?
And then the other guy is the distance guy to start off with, because if you give Dustin Johnson a set of these, he's just going to hit the 7-iron too far, and you're going to not be able to have what does his golf bag look like. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So in the guy who hits it miles to start off with,
if you're not really looking for speed or distance off the iron, I also believe that if you're looking for that kind of a more if you're feel orientated, if you need a certain type of sense of the shot off the face, you're going to have to be careful with this. And then also I think height.
Yes.
If they do have a fairly high pitch angle and they come in soft. So if you don't like to visually see a lot of height on the shot, it's probably not going to be a club for you. So that's who it's not for. Who's it for? Who are you putting into this?
Well, I tend to think that it then just becomes a really good amateur product. We always struggle as amateur golfers for raw speed. We always struggle for consistency of speed. We struggle then for distance control. So as an amateur product, it's fabulous because it covers off all different visuals. It covers off all different designs. The speed retention's there. You're going to jump 4 to 5 miles an hour over the traditional. So anybody naturally short in distance and lacking a bit of consistency, which tends to be the vast percentage of us, then there's so many more categories it fits, and with only a very, very small percentage of people that couldn't fit into a PXG product.
And then with the 4 different heads, it'll suit off pretty much.
Visuals, offsets, cuts, high launch, low launch, left, right, misses. You can basically cover any miss off.
But predominantly, if you're looking for more speed, this is the product to consider. This PXG Gen2 iron is all about getting fitted. I've been fitting for over 21 years, and my advice to you, get fitted before you make a decision on this product. I'll put a link to all the places that PXG have in the description below. Go along to a fitting, hit the product, and then decide if it's for you. I hope that you're enjoying all the information that we're giving you here. It's all based on fittings that we take in a day to day, and it's not my opinion, it's actually what happens. So, if you already subscribed to the channel, really appreciate it. We're trying to grow our numbers. Please share the channel with your golfing buddies and hit like if you do like the video. But if you have hit Gen 2 or you've hit Gen 1, if you've hit any PXG product, why don't you tell us what you think about PXG in the comments below. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. There's 4 heads with the Gen 2 with the Gen 2s. You can find me on the internet. Hi Derek and this. Hi Derek, this. T head. SGI that we tested. What are you doing that for?